Hello, everyone. Happy almost end of September. Yup. Just, well, when you see this, it'll be 3 more days, 4 more days as I'm making this. And it's crazy. I say it every single year. Time is just waits for no one. As always, obligatory self promotion. Please check out your boy's book, What If I Ruled the World? Poetry inspired by music. This is the back. This is the front. Um, Still need to work on my newest book, so stay tuned for that. It'll be out sometime next year. Uh, First, I was going to try the beginning, but I have done nothing so far. So we're going to give 2025 somewhere in there is the deadline. But definitely, I'm going to try to do it before the end of the year of next year. So today, we're still talking about our favorite horror movies, and we're in the top five. That's exciting. And at number five is Cabin in the Woods. The Cabin in the Woods. I was called Cabin in the Woods, but it's The Cabin in the Woods technically. And it was directed by Drew Goddard. Goddard. Oh, I said his last name right. Goddard. It was released April 13th, 2012. Feels like yeah, it was just 2012. The cast is Kristen Connolly as Donna Polk, a college student designated as the Virgin. Chris Hemsworth as Kirk Vaughn, a sociology major and football jock, designated as the athlete. So these are the stereotypes that they're supposed to be for the movie. I'm not gonna spoil like anything too major, so yeah. And then Anne Hutchinson as Jules Loudon, a pre-med college student and Kirk's girlfriend, designated as the whore. Frank Kranz as Marty Makowski. Makowski, yeah, a college student designated as the fool. He's also like the stoner character. Jesse Williams as Holden McCrae, Kurt's football teammate, designated as the scholar. So the synopsis. Um, Man, do I want to give this synopsis? So it's a group of college students who go to a remote cabin, and things are not what they seem. Because I feel like this synopsis gives away the twist, and it's like, why? When I feel like it should be in for the rat. So basically, um, their decisions are not their own, basically. But it's a little spoilery, but we're gonna go with that. Where can you stream it? Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, Google Play Movies and TV, YouTube, and Peacock. I think Peacock. If you have a subscription, you do not have to pay. I think, but I did pay $3.99 to watch it on Amazon Prime, which means I need to get it on DVD so that I don't have to pay. Yeah, so support physical media. And yeah, so I'm gonna get into my pros and my cons and my overall opinion. So, my pros. Number one, the story. I love the story of this movie and how it like subverts the typical cabin in the woods horror movie like genre. I love that there's a behind the scenes element to the characters' decision making. It's not just purely them being dumb. LOL. I love how the story progresses and it doesn't have to dumb down the characters or the story to get where it needs to be. So like people don't have to be doing dumb stuff so that the plot moves along. Which I talked about that in the short that nobody watched on here. So there's that. But I was saying Marty was like the smartest character, the stoner character, and that he figures things out pretty immediately, and that's really refreshing to see like people putting things together and not just like falling victim to whatever's going on around them. Even though it's not the typical horror movie, so it's kind of different. You know what I mean? But I really enjoyed that. Him and another character figure things out. But I don't want to spoil the other character because it's kind of, well, no, I won't spoil the other character. I'm not going to say too much. I'm being vague because I really think you should watch this movie. and it'll make sense. The characters. Oh, I kind of mentioned this. I like that they're not dumb by choice, and that they're pretty unique, even though they're supposed to be like stereotypical. And I love that some of them catch on pretty quickly that something isn't right. And the characters, I feel like, they're in a space where they're being manipulated, but outside of that space, they still seem like kind of unique and like, that they have their own kind of motivations and they're not like what they become, basically. But because of um, the behind the scenes, they have to be a certain way. And the setting. So there's two settings. So I'm not gonna spoil too much, but there's another setting besides the cabin. I guess you could say the woods are kind of a setting, but I'm not gonna say the woods are a setting. But there's like an actual like setting, like another location. Um, and it's really unique and plays a major part in the movie. And I really love this other setting because in the behind the scenes it gave to what was happening up like in the cabin. Um, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It kind of reminds me of I haven't watched it yet because I feel like I'm gonna be so paranoid about this. But the Belko experiment, like the setting of that movie, if you know that movie, which I would never get a device put in my head because that just sounds crazy anyway. Um, just in general, like I don't need that job that bad, you know. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, even though I haven't seen that movie. But I like know the premise and like the setting. The only con I have is just I want a little teeny, just a tiny bit, not too much more backstory. Like I think we get a good enough backstory that we get, but I do wonder like on what scale has these things been going on, especially with the advancement in technology of the movie. Like what was behind the scenes before like all this modern technology. So like I said, there are forces behind what is going on in the cabin with the main characters, and I'm wondering like what was that like before all the advancement in technologies and why has this all been started? Yeah, there's a reason why everything's happening in the movie, and I'm just kind of wondering more about like what was that like before all the advancements in technology? Like how would they know that they were successful, basically? But anyway, that's my overall opinion. I really love how unique and witty this movie is, how it puts a twist on a cabin horror movies, the horror movie genre. It's in the horror genre itself. I love how all the characters stood out and were smart without interference. Of course, with the interference, they weren't as smart. I love the element of the behind the scenes. I put this twice. I love the behind the scenes element of the movie that could explain other horror movies. I feel like that was really unique. I love the two settings and how they play into the story. And I really think every horror movie fan should watch this movie at least once. And of course, it's a 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. I feel like it's like just so unique and like witty and really interesting. So like basically, when I was looking at some of the like the behind the scenes of the movie, it was like kind of like a parody or like a satire of like the what was it called? Like gore porn and like really gory like horror movies and stuff, which I'm usually not a fan of, but some of these movies on this list have been kind of gory, and that's usually not my thing. But they usually do something that makes it kind of like unique and not just torture porn. Oh no, that's what they were trying to make a satire of, like torture porn type movies. Even though I think I've seen all the Hostel movies, and I don't really remember too much about all of them, but I can see like those were really popular. I think around the time. So yeah. So once again, I have another rant. I feel like I've just been ranting for 3 weeks straight in all these videos. I'm gonna try to do something more creative in the next one, but I just really went to rant in this one. So my rant is called stale horror movies. Okay, I mentioned I'm going on another rant for third video in a row, lol. but I really want to rant about the horror movie genre in general just being stale. Even franchises that were super unique start to become formulaic over time. And I'm gonna give one example. I didn't put this in my notes, but I'm gonna give an example. I don't think this one is like formulaic, but the Child's Play series, it kind of got a little campy. But I didn't mind the campy, but some people want it more serious. So like from The Bride of Chucky, The Seed of Chucky, we're like, okay, this is like becoming more comedy than like horror. And then I'm trying to figure out if there was something in between after those because I felt like it was just like then it got back to like more of a scary vibe, and it became. I remember the Cult of Chucky was like the last one before the series. I'm pretty sure, but there was something else before. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like Chucky was in like this house or something. It was a really good one. I like all of the Child's Play from what I remember seeing. I'm pretty sure I've seen all of them. I really like them. I've seen the remake, so I can't watch the series because I don't have no SF, S no sci-fi channel. I have to say all the letters. But I would really be interested to see how they develop it, and I feel like they have really, because most of the time, besides the remake, the original people have been involved. So I feel like that also kind of helps when the original people are involved as well, and they stick to like what their vision was. So now back to my notes. So The Conjuring and Insidious are movies on my favorites list. I think, don't quote me on this, they're the next two. They're 4 and 3, maybe? Or I know The Conjuring's next, but Insidious might be either 2 or 3, but I can't remember which order they're in. I know The Conjuring's next because I know if I want to watch it on Netflix, I gotta watch it soon because it's getting off and I don't have to pay. But anyway, so The Conjuring and the Insidious are movies that are my favorites list. But over time, they definitely have some duds when they used to be so refreshing and unique. Especially when they had very creative and scary side characters, just to always not do them justice. And I feel like I think I've reviewed at least The Nun 2, and I've talked shit about it, and it's not really that great. It's like the character was so scary, like within, I think it was The Conjuring 2 when the character first appeared. And the same thing with like Annabelle. Was she in the first movie? I've seen all three of the Conjurings. I haven't seen all of like the side movies, like the whole universe. I've seen two of the Annabelle movies. I haven't seen the third one. But yeah, the first one, they really fumbled it. And then I feel like for the Nun, for both the movies, I don't really feel like they were like that great. And Insidious, I've only seen 1 and 2, so I haven't seen like the prequels with Elise and the most recent one that came out. So it can be hit or miss, and like you try to do like the justice with these side characters, but sometimes they don't always come out right. So whenever they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do a side character for at least the Conjuring," we're gonna do a new side character for this, it doesn't always go great. Like with La Llorona, the Nun movies, I think, and then Annabelle, it was like hit or miss. Like the second one was really good, but I haven't watched the third one. But I think that one was also good. So there's that. Oh, I wish there were more unique horror movies like the one, like this one, The Cabin in the Woods, because the genre needs a shakeup. And I'm tired of cheap jump scares, tired of stories being repeated over and over again. Like how many times uh this house gonna be haunted, but y'all not doing nothing unique. You know what I mean? And then another example is Blumhouse used to be so groundbreaking, but now they're just putting out duds as well. People didn't like Imagine It, people didn't like Night Swim, which I the concept of Night Swim was interesting, but also like how was it gonna be for an entire movie? Like that's another thing. If something's a short film, sometimes it needs to be a short film. Like it's not really formatted to be a full length movie. Like the story doesn't really stretch that long, you know. Um, Speaking of Blumhouse, we're gonna talk about. Oh, I don't. Do I want to spoil number one? I don't want to spoil number one. But we're gonna talk about one of the movies in the top four. And it's really crazy because I Blumhouse used to be like, oh yeah, we gotta go see it. But Megan was okay to me. Like it was kind of fun, Like I thought it was gonna. It was kind of actually more heartwarming than I thought it was gonna be. So I wasn't too disappointed by it. But I know some people didn't like it, and it's they kind of getting gimmicky. It feels like, and like before I would be like, oh, Blumhouse, okay, that's gonna be good. But now I'm like, is it gonna be good? Well, let me wait for streaming. You know what I mean? When before it's like, oh yeah, we could go to the theater and see that. I feel like I will say the opposite is happening with A24 from what I've seen. Like, Talk to Me was really great, although I think that one was A24 like international, and then it came to America. So maybe foreign movies are like maybe that's what the change needs to be, but or that's what the change is. They're making more unique things because they're like more experimental, and like America is just wants nostalgia and easy stories. And that's one thing about Blumhouse. They always make cheap movies so they can make a profit, but then it kind of shows, you know what I mean, when the story's not that great and people are like, oh, these movies aren't as good as they used to be, you know what I mean? Oh, I kind of mentioned this that they need to stop relying on nostalgia and cheap gimmicks and get back to making unique and entertaining movies. And another thing, with nostalgia, it's like you're just reinventing the same thing over and over and over again. I will say, I think Blumhouse did the Five Nights at Freddy movie. And that was, I mean, that's a unique premise in and of itself, like the video game and all the lore. So it's interesting. So that's kind of on their side that the story is not bad story. Like they have that, but it's an adaptation of something else. Once again, it's like kind of nostalgic and people already like it. So yeah, the genre and horror movie genre needs to be really revitalized and made unique again because it feels like it's becoming a cash grab. But then there are also like some hidden gems. There are some movies that are different than other movies that are coming out. So yeah, have you seen The Cabin in the Woods? What do you think of it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Excuse me. Do you think? Do you wish there were more movies like this, or you were like, it's all right? Let me know in the comments, and always like, comment, subscribe. Um, yeah, all that stuff. That would be great. And I'll see you all next week. We'll be in the top 4 then.